Hello and welcome to 9-Inch Charge. Tom and I are back from our very first Old World tournament, and we thought we would talk you through our games, let you know how it went, review the tournament, and find out the results. Well, the result was Tom and I both podiumed. Neither of us won it, so you'll have to wait to find out who came second and third. We did do a video going through our lists going into the tournament, but I'll do a very quick overview of like my army and my games, and then Tom, if you do a quick overview of your army for those who haven't seen the previous video as well, and then talk about your games after that. So this is my list. I got a big old forest dragon. You know, you can squeeze him into 1,250 points. He wasn't the only dragon at the tournament. There were dragons, wyverns, giants, you know, all kinds of monsters and crazy stuff. So the level of list was fairly competitive on the top tables, I would say, for sure. And then I've got, as my core, 10 Glade Guards, 6 Deepwood Scouts, 5 Glade Riders. They've all got Hagbane tips. The Glade Riders have got reserve move. Then I've got 5 Sisters of the Thorn to pick either Fireball or Plague of Rust, depending on what my level 2 on horse gets. They've got the Ruby Ring of Ruin for an extra Fireball. And then out there on the right, I have got 5 Wild Riders. And they've got the Banner of the Hunter King, which gives them a Vanguard just before the game kicks off. So my first game was against Ben, and Ben took this Tomb Kings list. He was the only Tomb King player not to take the Necroth Bone Dragon, but it still had some things to play me up. So right there in the middle, I think it's in the middle, or is it in the right? He's got 2 blocks. He's got a big block of spearmen, and he's got a big block of archers. And the archers all have poison shots because of an item his character is carrying, which really worried me, to be honest, because I'm toughness 3 with like little or no armor save on everything, and his arrows volley fire. So I thought he was just going to point at a unit and just delete it. He's got a Tomb King on a chariot in a unit of chariots. He has got 8 or 10 skeletal horsemen with spears, and he has got a Tomb Scorpion there. I think there's another angle of the list, because see there on the right, he's got his level 2 Hierophant, who's got the Cloak of Dunes for extra maneuverability, just to get out of the way of things. And they're like riding a Cloak of Dunes. So they're like, he's converted it from the dragon, so it's like riding on that Sand Eagle, which I thought was pretty cool. So when I saw this army going in, I thought to myself, well, Wild Riders don't really want to go against the chariots. Nothing really wants to go against the chariots because the impact hits will wipe me out because I'm only toughness 3, no armor. So Dragon needs to kind of face off against them, and we'll just see where we get to with everything else. So if I go along, this is a picture of the first turn. You can't quite see everything. That piece of green felt that I've put down, that represents my free wood. And it's a convenient size, really, because it is the same size. I can put that unit of Glade Guard in it, and I can put a unit of cavalry in it, and they're still covered. And I just used to kind of pop in and out of it, really. So I could move, I could start behind it and move into it. If I felt like I wanted to be out of sight, I can move back out of it. And I deployed, you can see just on the left there, the scouts are behind the hill, and the Glade Guard are behind the wood. Again, just terrified of being bowed off, basically. And I vanguarded on the right there up against the skeletal horsemen. They also vanguarded against me, which was interesting. They did that first, and then I moved up, so I was just out of 8 away. So if he got the first turn, tried to charge me, I could still counter charge. And so I got the first turn, luckily, and I did charge them. So there we are. That's the match up there. As you can imagine, Wild Riders did their thing. So they won the combat, and then this is the table after my turn 1. So all that's happened really is all the way on that far right-hand side, the Wild Riders have charged, and then they have moved up. And luckily, they only rolled a 4 for their overrun. But luckily, they are just out of line of sight of those archers that are behind the hill. And then on the left, he did have a Tomb Scorpion, but I concentrated pretty much all my fire on it and managed to get rid of it. I was pretty worried because it was kind of protecting the chariots. I thought if the dragon's going to go into the chariot, all that will happen is the Tomb Scorpion will then go into the dragon, and we know what's going to happen. He's going to roll that 6, and then for Monster Slayer, and then the dragon will die. So that was turn 1. And to be honest, I was quite happy and quite comfortable that I destroyed the things that were the immediate threat. And after that, I just thought if I could take those chariots off, all he's really got then is those two slow units, and I'm maneuverable enough that I can kind of just keep going round and round and round. This is just another turn where the dragon has just moved up to face the chariots, and the wild riders come up to the top of the hill. Because of the way the wild riders moved, they were out of line of sight of the archers, so they had to turn. They did get a round of shooting because they can reform and then shoot with the front rank only. So I lost 1 to shooting, and then in my next turn I charged, and they couldn't stand and shoot because of how close I was. The wild riders, went through that unit, and the dragon went through the Tomb King on the chariot and the chariot unit, and then they both turned into the unit in the middle, and that was game ready. And by the end of that game, as I said, I lost 1 wild rider, I lost 1 glade rider to shooting as well, but I had tabled Ben. In fairness to Ben, he had only played. He's not new to wargaming, but he's new to the old world. So his army was kind of untested. I think there's a lot of things in the list that that sound cool on paper, and then when you play a game, they don't quite work out how you think. Like, I think you would think that big unit of like 30 archers with poison shots sounds really cool until you play a game, and they can't really move, and there's a lot of line of sight blocking terrain and things like that. But he was a really great opponent, nice guy, and yeah, so I won that, and that moved me up to the top table for the next game. Where, spoiler alert, I missed out playing you on the top table by 1 point, didn't I, Tom?
Yeah, you did.
So that would have been quite funny if we'd end up playing each other. But it's nice that we didn't face each other in a way, because
We've done that enough.
Yeah, we have, yeah. So my next game was against Sam and his Bretonnians. Really lovely painted Bretonnian army.
Can I just jump in, Dan? We've done 8 minutes now. We've not mentioned the quality of the hobby standard at this event. For a first event, it was phenomenal. Everyone did a really good job and showed up with painted armies, and it was lovely.
Yeah, which is cool because there wasn't actually a painting requirement for the event, because in the local area, there's a lot of people who are just jumping in. Now, Tom and I have got old legacy armies and things like that, and not everybody does. So, for example, this army Sam got out of the start set and just painted it up. So there was a relaxed standard, but it didn't actually stop people from painting and painting well into the night, I think, just before to try and get stuff done. But this is a beautiful army, and so he's got 2 units of 6 Knights of the Realm full command. He had a unit of 6 Pegasus Knights full command, and he has custom modeled them so that they can actually fit in a lance formation. He's got 10 Skirmish Bowmen, a level 2 with battle magic, and a Duke with the Gromwell Great Helm for a 2-up rerolling 1's arm save, and also, if I can remember, he had the virtue of I kill all your monsters and heroes.
Yeah. Let me find the name of it.
The virtue of heroism. Yeah. So let's see what turn 1 looked like. So we deployed off against each other. So he had his wizard behind the hill there, out of line of sight, because I think they are a soft target for me to start shooting and whittling down. In the middle, he had 1 unit Knights of the Realm, 1 unit of Pegasus Knights and his Duke. And then on the right-hand side, he had a unit of Knights of the Realm there. And I vanguarded up and got the charge. So I wiped those in turn 1 on the right-hand side with the Wild Riders, doing me a good job there. That's 2 units of cavalry destroyed in the first turn, 2 games, 2 games in a row there. But they didn't get the overrun, or they didn't catch them. And you can only do a reform if you catch the curs. He fled off the table, and then I was left a bit out of position. Not too worried because the archers have like a low ballistic skill. I've still got a ward save. But his wizard did roll Ruby Ring of Ruin, which was a bit nasty there. So in the next, so they're a bit exposed really. But I had dealt with 1 unit of knights. In the next turn, he moved all the way up. And just, you know, I've got a couple of models that have fallen off the hill there, I've just noticed. Just because terrain is always like that, isn't it? It doesn't really matter what you play. The Realm of Battle is the worst for it. But yeah, so he moved all the way up. So I think I responded, I put my dragon into the Knights of the Realm because he got the Lady's Blessing, which is a 5-up regen into the Pegasus Knights. So if I had charged into them, even with my -2 AP, they'd be looking at a 5-up, 5-up, 5-up regen. And I was just like, I'm not really going to do much damage to them this turn. They might draw me out. They've got, you know, Lance Formation. They've got a banner. I know what happened. I get static rezzed into like Oblivion in there. And I want to just start chewing through his army. So what I did was I charged the dragon into the Knights of the Realm. And then the plan was to move everything then out of line of sight of the Pegasus Knights, and then use the Pegasus Knights as well, so the Baron couldn't see to charge anything else. So then I tried to move everything back, and then once the dragon had won that combat, I would spin and win. I'd have shooting, I'd have options, and then I would like hopefully try and mop up those last couple of units when he doesn't have that spell off, or be able to cast Plague of Rust into them. Stuff like that was kind of in my mind, and I committed to moving the Sisters of the Thorn to the right to get out of the way, and they just didn't quite have the movement, and I didn't pre-measure it. I just started moving them, and I'd already committed to the move, and by the time they got where I wanted them to go, even with the free reform at the end, I was about an inch out of where I needed to be out of line of sight. So I had left them in, which was a bit of a mistake. I don't think it was completely fatal for the game, but it was a mistake there. So let's go on to the next slide. So I wiped that unit of Knights of the Realm. The Wild Riders had moved up to start to threaten his wizard, and at the back there you can just see the Wild Riders had turned around so they could start to see. And then he subsequently got the charge into the Sisters of the Thorn, because they unfortunately were still within line of sight. And then his Duke charged the dragon. Now the dragon has got Annoyance of Netlings, so it's -1 to hit in a challenge. So, you know, he's got 4 attacks, but he's going to be hitting me on 5. So really, he's probably going to hit me once. It's like a 1 in 3, isn't it? So not too worried. I mean, he could still always roll that 6, which would be a pain. But I do have a 5-up ward save, and I should be able to chew through the Baron, if not in this round of combat, because it's his turn. In the next round of combat, I can cast Plague of Rust on him, and then his 2-up save rerolling ones, which would be put back to a 4-up rerolling ones, would then be put back to a 6-up rerolling ones, and his wizard is nowhere near mine to be able to dispel that. So as long as he doesn't roll a 6 in that first turn of combat, everything should be okay, and I've still got enough fire to focus fire down on the Pegasus Knights and turn the dragon round into them. And then it's pretty much, you know, I'm okay, I think, even though I made that mistake with the Sisters of the Thorn. So let's look at the next slide. Oh, there's the next slide.
Nice.
Well, the next slide would be the dragon just gone. Because we don't know what happened. So Sam rolled a 6. He got a couple of hits. He rolled a 6 to wound. I didn't make my ward save, and the dragon died. And then the Duke went over into everything else. The wizard at the back managed to fireball off and spell off the 2 units of light cavalry at the back. So it was like a real devastating turn against me. I did still manage, as I said, to focus fire down onto the Pegasus Knights, and by the end of the game, there was only 1 remaining. So he had his Duke, his Wizards unit, and 1 Pegasus Knight left, and he had wiped out my whole army. So I still got 25% of the points of that big old unit, which helped out. So I think I took over 500 points away from the game. But yeah, it was like a massacre, really.
You did well to get those Pegasus Knights down to 1 with what was left.
Yeah, I got quite lucky with my shooting. I still had a ruby ring left, so you know that and Plague of Rust is really good because it's -2 to the armor, and then I'm still wounding. Then with Fireball, I'm wounding on 4s. The arrows had to wound on 5s, but everybody had poison, so I was getting those additional wounds through. And that's what all I was playing for, really, was just to see how much of that unit I could take. And I think, you know, I got 500 points in the end, but I don't know how many points that unit would have been. I mean, how many points is 3?
I could tell you in a second. 3. That it's 165 for 3. He's got full command.
Yeah, so it's about 300 points for that unit.
It's 351 points in total.
Yeah, so that's what I was fishing for. But it didn't work out, unfortunately. Sam's a good player, to be fair to him, and he knew his army well enough, you know, and the way he marched down, he actually, you know, the limitation of the lance really is that it's only got that 45-degree arc. And I think I underestimated how widely he had put it, so he had a lot of sight over the board there.
Yeah.
You know, he was worried in turn 2 after I'd taken out 1 unit of Knights of the Realm, because that kind of scares people a bit, and then he's facing off against the dragon. But ultimately, you know, the Monster Slayer does it, doesn't it?
Yeah, the Monster Slayer is absolutely evil.
But I am pleased it's in the game, because otherwise there's not that many counters to dragons. I mean, there's ways to hold them up and slow them down, but unless you have your own dragon, it is quite difficult to kill them. Let's be honest.
Yes, very true.
So,
even then, it takes a while to get through.
Yeah. So at that point, looking at the scores, I've got a perfect score in the first game. I got 500 odd points in this game. And looking at where everybody was sat, I wasn't in contention to win the tournament, but I was in contention for second if I had a really good last game. So we'll move over and see who I was playing. And I was playing Pete, who actually I've started going to East Warrington Wargaming Club, and I've played Pete a couple times before. But we've never really played super competitively. Like, neither of us has ever taken the dragon against each other. We just playing kind of friendly games, and then the tournament comes along, and so we both, you know, we dust off our dragons,
bring the big guns out.
Yeah. So he's got 3 units of chariots as his core. They've each got a champion. He's got 5 skeletal horse archers on the back at the left there. He's got 4 Ushabti great bows, and behind them he's got just 10 skeleton warriors, which is a unit to put his Hierophant in, who is up at the front or next to, and they have the Cloak of Dunes as well, because you don't really want them to get caught so they can fly away. He's also got a really cool conversion on the dragon here, on the Necroth Bone Dragon, so he's made it so that it's flying. And the pictures don't really do it justice, because when I was looking at, I saw it before in a picture, and I thought that the arms looked a bit spindly, but actually, when you see it in the flesh from like top down, it doesn't look that way at all. It's a really, really cool pose for that dragon.
Oh, yeah, it looks fantastic, doesn't it? Great paint job on there as well.
Yeah, I thought his army looked really good. So let's have a look and see if I can remember how this one went. Looks like I deployed in a line, and it looks like I deployed all of my archers behind woods again and out of line of sight.
Oh, what a shock. What an absolute shock that was.
So yeah, so then move up and shoot stuff. I got the first turn again, which, you know, send the Wild Riders off, that's fine. So, and this is Pete's army from the side. So he's got a unit of, did have 2 units of chariots on this flank nearest, but you can't see one of them. And then his Hierophant is behind the hill out of line of sight. So he's doing a bit of a Danny there, I think. His archers are on the hill, and then he's got another unit of chariots all the way down the end, guarding the other flank, and the dragon in the middle, right where he wants to be, really. And there's the dragon facing off against my army, just ready to chew up some elves. So where are we now? That's just another angle, I think. I think this is the end of turn 1, actually. So the archers and everything had moved up. It's difficult to see because they're quite far away. You can see there that I've got the Vanguard with the Wild Riders. They failed their charge into the Ushabti Bowmen. So they are a prime target to be shot up, not only by the Ushabti, but by all the chariot units and things like that. So I was just like, well, do you know what? They've done it twice. You know, it is going to happen. You know, I didn't know that I would get the first turn, but the reason why I did that was because behind the Ushabti Bowman is the unit with the Hierophant, and I thought if I could get a turn 1 charge and I can get into the Ushabti and then I can overrun or beat them and get behind into the Hierophant in a turn, it would just, that would be the game then, as far as I'm concerned. So, you know, although I wasn't guaranteed to get the first turn, I did have a +1 because I out deployed in, but I did think it's a bit of a long shot, but I thought the payoff, the potential payoff, was massive. So I tried it, and it didn't really work. Luckily, in return, Pete's shooting wasn't really up to much, so he didn't actually kill them. So you can see there's a couple here that have actually managed to get into combat. I got lucky with my spells and my shooting, and I managed to take off 2 units of chariots in return. He played really aggressively with his dragon and barreled it down the other side of that building in the middle. And what I did which was the Watchtower, we're playing the Watchtower scenario, just by the by. And what I did in response was I just moved forward, and then everything there is now out of the 45-degree arc of the dragon's line of sight. This is one of the drawbacks of the dragon, is its line of sight and having to pay for that wheel. You know, he could only afford to like march forward, and I think he thought he was in quite a good place because he could kind of see, I think at that point he could see potentially 3 units of mine. The Wizard, the Sisters of the Thorn, and the Glade Guard. And then me, and I guess I'm not really a naturally aggressively moving forward army. But yeah, by moving there, I was able to kind of counteract the ability of the dragon to do that. So in subsequent turns, as it played out, I danced around avoiding the dragon. I managed to fireball and shoot off the last of the chariots. He did get the Glade Guard with his dragon because they just couldn't get out of the way, unfortunately. The dragon went into the Ushabti and killed them, and then killed the Hierophant and this unit. And then I had everything except for my Glade Guard and the Wild Riders left. And Pete just had the dragon. So inevitably they met. My dragon looks absolutely tiny in comparison to his. But my dragon is fairly tough. You know, he's got a 5-up ward save from Talisman of Protection. He's -1 to hit and challenge thanks to Annoyance Netlings. He's got a great weapon. I think he's got 1 more attack than his dragon, and my dragon is strength 7 against his toughness 6. So I do wound it on 3s, which is a bit of a benefit. However, Pete's dragon's got a 5-up regen, and he's also got the Armor of Ages, which forces me to re-roll any successful wound roll against it. So the guy on the top is wounding it on 4s re-rolling, so instead of wounding half the time, I'm only wounding a quarter of the time. The dragon is re-rolling, and it was a slog that lasted a few turns. And my dragon was on 1 wound remaining going into the last turn of the game when it slayed its dragon.
Close. Very close.
And just behind the hill, which is the watchtower up here, you can see the wizard there, and that turn is like near it. It moved right up to it. So I took the extra 200 points for that. So I got all the points for his army, and I got the 200 for the watchtower. And as I said, I was in contention for second. So we'll see if that was enough at the end. But all in all, really enjoyable tournament. I hadn't actually played against Tomb Kings. Yeah, I've played 1 game against Tomb Kings before, but never against the dragon. So it was pretty fun to play against them. Bretonnians, I've played lots. You know, I play you all the time, Tom. So, you know, I kind of knew what I was expecting. And really, that should have probably been, with all the practice games we've done, should have been the easier of the games. So, yeah, a bit of an interesting turn of events, really, because I think that Tomb Kings can be a bit of a natural enemy of Wood Elves in that you can't shift them and you get stuck in combat for a long time. And Wood Elves don't really do that. They're a bit more shock and awe and things like that. And also their shooting is really painful against you because they always hit you on 5s. So it doesn't matter if you're in a wood, it doesn't matter if you skirmish, all those benefits begin to get stripped away from you. So
yeah, at the end of the day, you're just a toughness-free elf with no armor. So
yeah. So that was how the day went for me. But I was happy with the results. I thought the army performed quite well. The Wild Riders were really good, but they did always die. So I ended up giving points to my opponent through them. So it's something I would look at. I mean, we did talk about it before, didn't we? Saying how engaging do I want to be, or do I just want to go full avoidance? And I'm pleased I took something that engaged a bit more. But I do think probably the Nemesis of the Fireball.
Yeah, I think that'd be really good.
But then
it asks so many questions of your opponent, right? You go in, you take a unit off first turn with a charge they're not expecting. Suddenly, they start to do the inward dance and start trying to face your Wild Riders.
Yeah. That is true. Yeah, I do think in the first game in particular, I think it came as quite a surprise to Ben that I was like all the way across the table and had killed a unit. And I think it faced Sam a bit, but you know, he was fine because he still beat me.
Yeah. And as I keep telling you, you killed the unit that doesn't do anything, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. But it's one off the flank, isn't it? And it helps and it rattles the opponent. And had he, you know, he did have level 4, so he was likely to draw a Fireball, but had he not, it would have been a real pain for him. But that's the game, isn't it? So there we are. That was my tournament. So Tom, let's see how your tournament went.
Oh, lovely. I'll run you through the list real quick, if you don't mind.
So here's the army.
Oh, handsome. Sorry, I think I was the only person who brought grey models, which was such a surprise. I didn't really have time. I had quite a lot going on in my personal life to get the last 3 heroes done. So I was really surprised to get the Pegasus Knights done. But
you don't really want to rush those heroes for an event because they've got to look nice. So, you know.
Yeah, I wouldn't have minded the Paladin. I can pick the Paladin up any day, but there's a couple of made to orders in there that now they're gone, they might not be back for a while. So, anyway, let's charge into the characters I've got. So I'm running a Green Knight, which is the best. I love the Green Knight, every single second of it. A level 2 damsel running battle magic on a Bretonnian warhorse, a paladin with heavy armor, shield, lance on a royal Pegasus, with the knight with the falcon horde and the virtue of the ideal. So the idea is they're stopping anyone flying. He's leadership 9, +1 attack, +1 initiative. He's pretty good. He did a lot of work for me in that tournament. Into my core, 2 units of 5 Knights of the Realm, full command. A unit of 10 Peasant Bowmen. And then into my special 2 units of 3 skirmishing Pegasus Knights with the first Knight for the extra attack.
And yeah, what a great unit those Pegasus Knights are.
Oh, Mama Maglione, they're good. They put work in. They've been fantastic.
All right, so into your first game. Let's have a look. Here we are.
Lovely.
Trolls.
Mate, I had such a run of really interesting lists. It was really fantastic to play. So I never thought in a million years I'd be rolling into a Trolls list. So I played Stephen in my first game, and my goodness, that list looks fantastic. I was so happy to play that on the table. It looked great.
There's a lot of stuff there. It's like, well, obviously Trolls are big monsters, and then he's got what, a Wyvern, a Giant, and a Troll Hag.
A level 4 on a Wyvern with War Paint and Frenzy, which was an interesting choice. Just to set some background, it was Stephen's second game. We played a practice game the Thursday before. He's played a lot of Warhammer before, a lot of Age of Sigmar, but this was his first Old World event. So, yeah.
Another one of those, perhaps, that looks good on paper, getting the extra attack and being able to get War Paint for a ward save and being a wizard and being on a Wyvern. It kind of does everything, but then equally, you're better off just doing one thing really well, aren't you, I think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a combat character would have scared me a lot. The Green Knight went into the Wyvern quite a few times. And
yeah, because the hags are wizard, aren't they? So
yeah. So there's two good wizards in that list, which was interesting. So should we get into the first turn? I'm sure I put a picture in.
Yeah, just so the two large units of trolls have additional hand weapons, and the two on their own have
great weapons. And their strength 7.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Right. We'll get into that.
Okay. So this is the first picture that I've got.
Excellent. So this is the first bit of movement from Stephen. I'll talk you through my deployment real quick, although you can't see it particularly well. On the hill, I've got the unit of peasant bowmen. Back here, I've deployed back off of the 12-inch line my Knights of the Realm with a paladin supporting, and then on the two far flanks to my left and right, I've got my Pegasus Knights ready to prance and dance around the table. So Stephen here, as you can see, is pushed up really aggressively, marching everything straight towards my line, trying to ask the questions, what do I want to do? For a bit of a mistake on his part, he's flown his Wyvern up to a hill, and these hills are 2 inches up, 2 inches down. We've been playing them for movement.
Okay. So when you blow your falcon horn,
yes, he cannot quite move off of that hill very easily. Now he's up there.
What a pain that is. Yeah, well, that's why the falcon horn's in the list, isn't it? I mean, he probably ought to have played it more aggressively anyway, but I think his movement is right, because when you're playing with trolls, especially ones with great weapons, you're going to strike last anyway. You might as well just move up.
The rest of the movement, like, it had me asking questions straight away. I was on the back foot thinking, what do I need to do? How am I going to get? I tried to fight this unit of trolls on the left in our practice game. It didn't work. So the plan I've come to is I'm going to take a flank. I'm going to take the weakest flank of his and just start surrounding the army. So my unit of Pegasus on my immediate right, fly 20 inches almost to the other side of the board, out of line of sight of everything. Really simple move. My Paladin here charges in to the river trolls, and he gets supported by a unit of Knights of the Realm.
The river trolls are what, the 2 or the 3?
The 3. The unit of 3 on the immediate right of this photo. I'm using my mouse that you won't be able to see in this video. Very smart. And the unit of Knights of the Realm, pardon me, here on the left, are going to barrel straight into this unit of 2 knights with great weapons. I thought I'd have enough damage output to get in there, do enough to kill one, and weather the storm back. Another reminder, is my Green Knight pops up in this forest to my right.
Yeah.
In a position to flank charge the river trolls.
Nice. So let's see how that goes. So basically, you're going to crumble that whole side in turn 1, and then turn, and then face the rest.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the unit of Pegasus Knights on the left, they fly up just to get him panicking. Do that. You know, people who don't play skirmishers inevitably turn the army to face a skirmisher, and the dance begins.
Yeah. I mean, all I know from this game are two things. Shortly after this happened, you turned around to me and you just mouthed, "I fucked up."
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. I mean, it doesn't look like it can go too far wrong.
No, the grand fuck up. So I've made two mistakes here, in my opinion. The Green Knight is in the flank of this unit of trolls.
Yeah.
I should have done this unit of trolls first, and then overran, and the Green Knight follows straight up into this and gets to fight again.
Yeah, that is a real play.
That would have been the play, right? However, I saw red. It's the guy's first game. I was like, oh, well, let's just have some fun. Let's roll the dice for the great weapons. Let's see if I can take them off. Didn't happen. I did 2 wounds, which is embarrassing. It goes to cement my theory of Knights of the Realm don't actually do any work. Just sit around on their horses. They smacked me back and took off 4 Knights of the Realm.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, devastating.
That is painful, isn't it? Good day out for those trolls, though.
Those trolls did work.
Yeah, so is this what this is? Okay.
This is pretty much the aftermath of the combat right here. The river trolls got deleted fairly comfortably.
Yeah.
And as you can see, the Green Knight then rolls over into the unit of common trolls with great weapons, which is why I should have done that combat in reverse.
You killed all those trolls outright.
Yeah, killed those trolls outright, did the overrunning.
And then overran directly forward. Yeah, okay.
Directly forward.
Yeah, great.
No, trying to put some pressure onto the Wyvern on the hill, which is now still not doing anything. It couldn't even make the charge distance there because it's movement 4 plus 2 inches to get off the hill. Yeah, he wasn't having a good day with that. I'm out of line of sight for pretty much everything. The hag can't complete any charges there.
It also doesn't need to be on the hill because it's a large target. It can already see over units and draw line of sight over units. So putting it on the hill really isn't of much benefit.
But it looks cool.
Yeah, it does look cool. Okay, so you have pretty much, with the exception of those trolls, you have still crumbled that flank, and you've got 2 units of flyers there that are able to pressure now.
Yeah.
The rest of his army that is facing the wrong way.
Yes. At this point, I don't think we have a picture of the next turn, do we?
Let's have a look.
Let's dig through.
Yeah, the Green Knight is on it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we do. Cool. So in his next turn, we can see the aftermath of the movement phase. Once again, the Wyvern's not done anything. It's just stood around. There is a dice next to it. This might be a little bit into my phase here, but we'll talk about that, in a minute. So the Wyvern hasn't done anything. It's stood on the hill. The stone trolls have turned to face a target they're never going to catch.
Yeah.
The troll hag here has failed its stupidity test. So all it can do is now move forward if it wants to. Stephen didn't see much value in that, so he kept it still and started trying to fire some spells off. He actually tried to pick it up with Hand of Gork and move it, but he didn't get that off. My level 2 was just denying all of the magic here. It's made its points back in every game just by denying magic. It's fantastic.
It's cool that, because you were thinking, do I need a wizard? Because we've seen some other lists that don't take them. You haven't always seen the value in it. And then I was kind of trying to pressure you a bit in case you came across the big magic list. And this has got 6 spells a turn, hasn't it? So
yeah, this could have been a really big magic list, but I just got lucky. My dice were coming up clutch. I was rolling like double 6s, double 5s, just shutting everything down really easily. So the aftermath of that combat here with the common trolls, the Green Knight took them out. Straightforward. I lost my Knight of the Realm.
The Green Knight is doing the work there, isn't he?
Yeah, the Green Knight, I was using his Murderous Strike pretty much every game, which is a great weapon profile, 4 attacks, hitting almost everything on freeze, strength 6, multiple wounds 2, magical attacks, AP 1 with armor bane.
Yeah.
Powerful.
So he's into his 3rd unit now. And then the next slide is when I looked over at the table and I just thought, what on earth is going on over here?
Yeah. So
hang on a minute, let me find it. So this was the view that I got of the game, and it was just an absolute mess of multi-combat. And I was just like, I'm so pleased I'm not playing in that and trying to work out what's attacking what. So how did it end?
So I think the best way to do it is the turn order and the way I decided to do the combats here. The Green Knight is in with this hag, but just behind him,
he's killed the giant, is he?
No, the giant is behind. I can't remember what happened with the giant. The giant's unbreakable, so I don't know how it got out of combat.
Okay.
I can't quite recall that, but there was a way of getting it out of combat, and he took that. But the Pegasus Knights have flown in to engage the giant that's on 1 wound.
Yeah.
They just devour that for breakfast. It's only strength, toughness 6 with no armor at this point. I'll lance it, do enough damage. We overran into the Troll Hag. Then the Pegasus Knights are still charging with a Green Knight that's also doing its thing.
Yeah.
We batter that Troll Hag within an inch of its life. It ends that combat with 1 wound. But unfortunately, once again, unbreakable. I was hoping to kind of go into these stone trolls and start putting some work on them in the next combat with the Green Knight straight away. It's difficult to see, but the Wyvern has made it off the hill.
Yeah, I can see that, yeah.
But subsequently being charged by a unit of Pegasus Knights in the front, a Paladin in the flank, and a unit of Pegasus Knights, and a unit of Knights of the Realm also in the flank. And yeah, we just go to town on that. Everything's like strength 6. He's got no armor because he's got 5+ scaly skin. All of my attacks are AP 2. I've got the weight of attacks. I'm able to hit before he does, and we just kill it outright before it gets to have a say.
I think this is just unfortunate for Steve, really, isn't it? That his list is, they're not slow, they're still movement 6, but you are that much quicker. Like the end of turn 1 picture where you were like all around him, basically surrounded him.
Yeah,
and then he isn't able to bring his Wyvern to bear because of the Falcon Horn, so he can't even turn it just to threaten you and scare you off a bit. It's just. And then you've given him a masterclass in rolling up someone's flank, basically.
Yeah, it was like an ethical decision. Do I just go and smash? I am at a tournament, but it is the guy's like 2nd game, so it was good fun. He played it really well, and he got 2 really good learning games, and he subsequently came 5th in the tournament overall. So he
won his other 2 games, didn't he?
Yeah, he won them very convincingly as well. So it's actually the Troll Hag and the Troll Horde list. Very cool, very good list, and I was really happy to play against it. So in my 2nd game, I was playing against James Clark and the fantastic Bretonnian Exiles. So I've rolled out to bring these guys into tow, into line, because I'm fed up with them doing whatever they want. And it's another list I was really surprised to see, to be honest. I was really happy to play against it. It's really nice to play against the armies of infamy. And this was one I was looking at.
His army looked really good as well. It looked really good on the tabletop because it pops so well.
Yeah, the yellows and blues look fantastic.
Yeah, it's contrast, but it really works, doesn't it? It's so vivid. So what did he have in his list, Tom?
So we'll go through the list. So he had a Baron, hand weapon, shield, who is his general on a Royal Pegasus with the Ogre Blade and the Virtue of Knightly Temper.
So what's that? Ogre Blade, then plus D3 attacks and hatred.
And hatred, yeah.
Okay.
Really good, really good. I really like that he's named all of the characters as well. He's got an outcast.
Isn't his Baron like his name but French?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I thought that was fun.
He's got an outcast wizard, a level 3 with the Ruby Ring of Ruin, Arcane Familiar, and Dark Magic.
Okay.
In his core, we've got 2 units of 6 Knights of the Realm, hand weapon shield, lances, shield, heavy armor, full command, standard stuff. Then we're going into 18 Yeoman Guard with hand weapons, thrusting spears, which I thought was interesting.
I don't really rate the Yeoman Guard, if I'm honest with you, but they're a cool unit that you can have.
Yeah, they're more expensive, but they got a better weapon skill. They could take polearm, so they can be striking at strength 4. Yeah, they can work. They can work. And then he's got a unit of 3 Pegasus Knights that he deployed in a lance, and a Border Prince's Bombard and a Trebuchet. The Bombard was really good. Really good.
I've not come up against one this edition because it's War Machines. Everyone's just like, oh, War Machines have been nerfed, so like no one just takes them. But looking forward to hearing what you've got to say. The Bombard is. So let's move into the slides. So let's have a chat about this.
Cool. So I'll talk about the deployments. So James deployed really aggressively on the 12-inch line. So we're playing Battle for the Pass here. And he's deployed really aggressively. Everything's on the 12-inch line, essentially waiting to come up. The only thing he didn't deploy there was the Pegasus Knights. He deployed them back at the back of the table, waiting for my Green Knight. Just sat there, waiting to cause mischief.
But they don't have magical attacks, do they? So what are they going to do against the Green Knight?
Well, I could get unlucky and they could get static combat res down.
Yeah.
But he's only got a lance formation, so I'd have to be very unlucky.
I think that's a list. I don't know. Well,
I
wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have done it.
No.
So I can see here you've taken a bit of damage in the middle. Is this the cannon?
Yeah. So in his first turn, he's moved everything up, as you would. And we've just played the dance. We've started the dance with the Pegasus Knights. The Paladin has also started to play that game.
Yeah.
He has cannoned off 3 of the 5 knights in one turn, which that shook me. That was one of those like your wild riders, pardon me, in the front of your face. I was just like, no, that's got to go. That's got to go now. So we made haste with one of the units of Pegasus Knights to try and get them.
Yeah.
My mage popped out of the unit to get line of sight of the Yeoman Guard, threw a fireball, rolled double 6, deleted half of the unit. Carnage. Absolute carnage. Combined with the shooting from the men, the peasant bowmen on the hill, did a number. As you can see, my Green Knight in the back of the picture.
Back here.
Yeah, we sprung out of this forest on the back table. He was 9 inches away from the forest. So it's basically an auto-complete charge. I had to roll a 1. Straight into the rear of them. Collapsed the lance. And took off, I think I took off 2 of them in the first round of combat. They held, which was quite good for them. I was hoping to overrun and start causing mischief around the board. At the start of his second turn, he declares a charge with the Duke. Not the Duke, the Baron, pardon me, into the back of my Green Knight, which was quite terrifying. Even though I know it's got 360 line of sight, I completely forgot it had 360 line of sight, and I thought I was in the clear.
So he's going to Ogre Blade you into oblivion, basically.
Yeah. You may be able to see it. So the cannon's on the top of the hill, and in a perfect line, I've lined up my Pegasus Knights.
Ah, dear. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I see where this is going.
So in his shooting phase, he tries to ping off some of these peasant bowmen, doesn't do it. He fires the bombard, 2 Pegasus Knights deleted. It's important to note, as we're both Bretonnian players, none of us get the Blessing of the Lady, so it's a wardless save game, which is a bit upsetting. I was relying on that ward save.
I wondered if you get it because they're exiles, and you might get it against exiles, but no.
Unfortunately not.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was down to 1 Pegasus Knight there. The combat with the Baron and the Green Knight, he rolls in. He rolls really well for his Ogre Blade and Knight of Virtue, so he's rolled D3 extra attacks. So he's rolling in with like 7 attacks. But he whiffs massively. He does wound. He gets 1 wound through. He rolls a 3. Not a 3. He rolls 3 wounds because it's a D3 wound weapon, isn't it? So I've got 1 wound left. 1 wound to do it all.
And?
I turned around with my murderous strikes from the Dolorous Blade and took his head off in 1 turn. Yeah, it was heroic. I hit all 4 times, wounded all 4 times. 2 of them had Armor Bane because they were 6. So straight up, that was... he was saving those on 6s, just took his head off. 4 wounds through, nothing he could do about it at that point. Subsequently calls in these Knights of the Realm to run away.
Yeah.
Which was fantastic because we ran them down. So in a single turn of combat, I took out the Duke. That was... Yeah, so the Duke was 300 points. The Knights of the Realm, 165 points.
Wow.
Oh, fantastic.
You can't blame him. I don't think he put a foot wrong, really, in doing that. And I would have done the same, 10 times over. But, yeah, what a result for the Green Knight. Just fantastic.
What a result.
I actually, just thinking of the event, after this game was over, between this and the final round, because we both finished our games a bit early, I remember seeing James on his phone going, I'm buying a Green Knight. I'm buying a Green Knight. So
just doing it.
It must have done well.
Yes, so the Green Knight, I think, made quite the impression on James there.
So do you want me to go to the next slide?
Go to the next slide.
So this is turn 3, isn't it?
Yeah, this is Aftermath. The Green Knight's done the business. The Field Trebuchet, as is customary with all old world weaponry, it blows up. Didn't have to go anywhere near it. It was didn't do anything for him anyway, so just saved me going over there. Thank you.
Yeah, your Pegasus Knights are in the cannon.
Pegasus Knights have gone into the cannon to shut that up. I've made a misplay here, and it's quite a big one. I've left the Paladin in the charge arc of these Knights of the Realm. So he's able to charge me really easy. I cannot countercharge.
Because it's not in your front arc. So why did you not charge with the Paladin in your turn?
I was going to move it. I completely forgot about it. I was so excited with the Green Knight doing his thing. We're taking off the cannon. Yeah. There's a lot to be excited for in this term.
Yeah.
So, what happens next? The Pegasus Knight and the Knights of the Realm, the unit of 2, charge the Yeoman Guard.
Yeah.
And what happens is, over the next 2 combats, I kill the Pegasus Knights outright with the Green Knight. Those murderous strikes do a lot of work when you're hitting on 3s, wounded on 2s, doing multiple wounds too. So every wound that goes through is taken off a knight. Fantastic. We mop up the cannon easily enough. And then at the end of turn 4, the only thing on the board are the Knights of the Realm over in the far left-hand corner.
Yeah.
And we just charge with everything, take them off. And that was, I think it was a turn 5 table for me.
And that put you up on the top table, one of only 2 players with 2 wins. So you were then playing in the final.
Yeah. It was a big game, that final.
So then in the final, you were playing back against
Sam.
Sam, who I had previously played. So I've already shown a picture of his army. The Bretonnia list with the 6 Pegasus Knights and a Lance.
Yeah. Oh, what a fantastic list that was.
And this was, as we said before, Watchtower, wasn't it?
Yes, it was Watchtower. So here we're just setting up deployment. It's a really straightforward deployment, really. We've both deployed off of the 12-inch line again. Just we're being very cagey in these first 2 turns.
Another Bretonnian mirror match as well. Another no ward save match.
Yeah.
Bretonnians were doing it in this tournament, weren't they?
Bretonnians are strong. I think there's a reason Bretonnians are quite strong in the meta right now.
It's interesting just looking at this, just looking at deployment. He's deployed against you pretty much exactly the same as he deployed against me. So the Pegasus and the Duke and the
Knights of the Realm.
Knights of the Realm, like as one block moving forward together.
Yeah. It's a wall, isn't it? It's a wall of pain and death that's going to come and eat you.
And you've deployed, you know, pretty much as one would expect. So you've got your Pegasus Knights guarding your flanks, and then you've got your hard-hitting centre with your Knights of the Realm.
Well, it's not hard-hitting. Let's not say that.
Not if you're 2 trolls, it's not.
It's a centre that will do centre things.
Okay.
What has happened in this turn was quite devastating for me. As you can see, I've only got 1 unit of Knights of the Realm on the table. He concentrated fire with Fireball and the Peasant Bowman. He's caused a rout on the unit of Knights of the Realm, and it's the risk you take. They fled off the board.
It's also not getting that ward save. You know, it plays different. Fireball feels different as well, then, doesn't it? When you're not getting that extra save,
it does. Yeah.
If you roll badly for your wounds.
Yeah, which is very unfortunate, but it is what it is. That's dice games. So I thought I'll salvage this situation. We'll ride out. We'll ride to death for wrath and ruin. The Green Knight spawned in the middle of this wood here, came out and charged the Pegasus Knights. Yeah, so we go into this combat with the Pegasus Knights and the Green Knight.
Yeah.
In the next 2 turns of combat, I've shredded 3 of the knights off of this stand, and I was really hoping to start breaking them. The Baron, or the Duke, pardon me, comes over to the side of the building. He gets the charge in on my Pegasus Knights. It's worth noting, each time I'm losing combat due to static res, it's just slowly chipping away at the Green Knight. The Duke joins the fray. Yeah, I'm unstable. The Duke joins the fray. It takes the Green Knight off.
Okay.
I've continued to dance around. Yeah, you can see it here, right? In this is the start of turn 3. I've made another boo-boo. I've messed up. So what you don't see here is the second unit of Pegasus Knights. So they have come to occupy in that same U formation, the flying reverse V they had going on. They've occupied the back table here, and we've cast Curse of Cowardly Flight on them. They pass their leadership test, but they still fall back in good order or give ground 2 inches off the board. So mental note, always stay 3 inches away from a board edge, right? So that cost me a unit. For 3.
That's real unlucky, Tom.
Yeah, that was real brutal. If that didn't happen, I was in a really good position to charge the Peasant Bowman, mop up, start coming into the unit of Knights of the Realm, and start doing my
off
thing.
His level 4 and been right in the back of his units.
So this combat here was really unfortunate. So there's a big combat here, general on general. Well, it's not my general, but I'm trying to hunt his general, hunt the big bad. Once I've killed this general, there are no magical attacks in the army. I've kind of got free reign to do what I want with the Green Knight now. I get the Duke down to 1 wound before he turns around and he kills me with Killing Blow. He hits with 3 attacks, wounds with 3 6s, and I've at this point got a 5-up, 5-up, I think it is. So he's done work there.
It's worth noting that Sam's Duke, across the course of the tournament, killed a Necroth Bone Dragon, my Forest Dragon, and the Green Knight with Killing Blow or Monster Slayer. There is not a man alive who can roll a 6 like this man.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Coming in very clutch.
I mean, if there is a character or a hero of the day that songs will be sung about, that is the hero, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, the Duke of Death.
The duck, I tells you.
So yeah, at that point, you've lost that unit of Pegasus Knights. You've lost the Green Knight.
Yeah.
And he's still got 2 units of Knights of the Realm there by the looks.
This is the second falling of the Green Knight, which is unfortunate. My Falcon Horn's just not going off this game as well, so that duck has free movement to do essentially whatever it wants now. What's the next slide?
There is no next slide.
There's no next slide. So after this, it's we play mop up. I say we play mop up. I got mopped up. Sam was laughing and having a great time. I could see the victory slowly slipping away. However, we made some statement kills. The Pegasus Knights and the Paladin came and ate the level 4. And then essentially after that, there's a big old mosh pit in the middle of the table by this house. I took the Pegasus Knights down to 2 models, not quite enough to get the 25%.
That's it. See, because the tournament's on kill points, it is still all to play for, because we're still, you and I now are fighting it out for second place, aren't we? Really?
Yeah. So what happens after that? After that, essentially, the Pegasus Knights go into skirmish. The Duke just starts going round, mopping up the board. The Green Knight, pardon me, comes back for round 3. It charges in to the unit of Knights of the Realm. It does significant damage. I think I killed and routed one, but it just wasn't enough at this point. He played it very well, and it was a brilliant game. I learned a lot. The Green Knight was good, but that Duke was something else.
Well, the Gromwell Great Helm is a good item.
Yeah,
that's to say the least.
So I think based on this game, if I was to change the list at all, I think I would be putting a level 4 in, and essentially that build of Duke, which is what we discussed. I think that was one of the original lists before I managed to get the Green Knight, wasn't it? Yeah. It's very good.
Yeah. All right. So that took us to the end of the event.
Yeah.
And I had just managed to get more points than Tom, so I've gone home with my second place trophy. So thank you very much to East Warrington Wargaming for hosting. Good terrain, great standard of armies, friendly and engaging opponents, and really good TOs, and an open bar, which always helps.
A bar that is operational. An open bar is a different thing. That's when you don't pay for it.
Yes. Okay, an operational bar, but a bar that is open and you can go and get drinks. So yeah. So that was really good as well. We had an absolute great time. So thank you very much for that. And hopefully this is the first of many events that we want to go to. There are other events that we've had our eye on. We just need to be a bit better at painting up to 2,000 points, really. I've got a 2,000 point list in mind, so I think when I want to expand the army, I've kind of said, I think we've both kind of said, you want a level 4, you want a Duke in there. You know, I want more fireballs. I've been looking at trying to get 4, but I don't know if I will get that high. So there are places for us to go. So we do want to go to more. Eastwinter Wargaming have said they will do another event in the future. They're looking at 2K, potentially a 2-dayer. So that'll be fun. I do like these 1-day events, though. I have to say,
it's very chill, wasn't it?
Yeah, because there's for that points value, there was lots of time to play the game. So even the people who were newer, they had all the time they wanted to, and then it gave us a lot of time to, you know, look at people's armies and chill out, go to rush to the bar and get more pints, and things like that. So, so yeah, a great time is had by all. I hope that you guys have found this tournament review useful. Also, let us know what you think about the format of reporting the battles. Because we were going to record a game and do the old handy cam thing, but we decided that we would take photos and then just chat through the game, and we haven't yet recorded that because we think that there might be a benefit of talking through, like, and taking more. Obviously, today we had to get through like 6 games, but in the same amount of time we've done today,
we could just do one game.
Yeah, and talk through our reasoning and our decision making. I think sometimes in battle reports you just see people do things, but you don't really get into the mindset of like how the army plays and why those decisions have been made and why it was a mistake or why it was a good idea. And I kind of wanted the opportunity to do that because at our core we're a discussion channel. We're not built for action, you know. We're built for just, you know, sitting down,
chat.
but let us know what you think. You know, we can do the handy cam thing, but and hopefully that video will be out before too long. And in the meantime, thank you very much for watching, especially if you've made it all the way to the end, and we will catch you next time.